Hey guys, welcome back to Arena Football Statement. I'm your host Tucson, and today I will be ranking the teams of the Indoor Football League for the 2021 season from worst to first. You might ask, why? Why are you doing this, Tucson? You know, because there's really no time like the present to be completely wrong with no consequences. See, I know you guys are just loving fans who won't ever agree with me, but since you're so kind, you're just gonna leave hearts and flowers in the comments for me ranking your team at the bottom. You know what? That's sappy. Let's just get to the rankings. Number 17, the Cedar Rapids River Kings. Tucson, the River Kings aren't even playing this year. Right, exactly why I ranked them at the bottom. They're not going to win a single game this year. And I will be ranking every team that is part of the IFL, whether they're playing this year or not. And the ones that are on hiatus, I'm ranking in their likelihood to return. Cedar Rapids is one of three markets funded by the great Roy Choi when his casinos were shut down by lockdowns, making him have to close up shop for at least the 2021 season. It's a small market with a decent fan base, and I hope that they return after 2021 because those uniforms are gorgeous. Number 16, the San Diego Strike Force. The city of San Diego needs professional football. After the Bolts bolted to LA and Tom Dundon dropped a dookie bomb, on the fleet, the Strike Force is all San Diego had. And they had a great 2020 season. They went undefeated. They beat the Bismarck Bucks 50-36 in some of the best uniforms and helmets you will ever see. That alone makes me want to see them return. But if Roy Choi had to pick between the Cedar Rapids River Kings and San Diego Strike Force, I would have to think he'd go with the bigger market. Number 15, the Columbus Wild Dogs. Yeah, I've heard of it. So they haven't played yet, slated for 2022. But the Germain family has been a huge blessing to the Indoor Football League already and have demonstrated fantastic business acumen. They're letting the Frisco Fighters get a season under their belt before bringing the Wild Dogs into play. Columbus has a fantastic market. But the one thing I don't understand is how the NAL was able to get the Albany Empire trademark, and Columbus is not going with the Destroyer's name, with its history and fan base. You know what, just the same, it's gonna be exciting to see this Wild Dogs team play in 2022. Number 14, the Oakland Panthers. What a rough start to this franchise. They released some awesome helmets and uniforms, and were slated to host the Iowa Barnstormers at the start of the 2020 season. When the nation freaked out about COVID, and then they said the game would be played with no fans, and then after the Barnstormers flew out to Oakland, the game got canceled, and then the season got canceled, and then Oakland saw the writing on the wall that California wasn't going to allow them to play with fans, and so they were like, we're just going to have to move to 2022 now. But you know what? If there was any of Roy Choi's teams that would come back, I think it would be Oakland. Number one, because Marshawn Lynch, as a co-owner, helps shoulder that financial responsibility, and he wants to see professional football in Oakland.
This opportunity gives us something to rally around as a community.
And number two, the Bay Area is a great market for football. And we just have been waiting a long time to see these Panthers take the field. You know what? Speaking of Panthers, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman. Number 13, the Quad Cities Steamwheelers. Much like California, Illinois showed obvious signs of gathering restrictions that made the owners of the Quad Cities Steamwheelers just bench the whole team for 2021. And Quad City has a faithful fan base. They might be saying, hey, Quad City was the 2020 champions. There was only 2 games played, but they won the Cedar Rapids River Kings 54-39, and that was the biggest margin of victory, and so therefore, they're crowned 2020 champions. That's awesome. But then they went on hiatus, and that's not awesome. And Frisco and Bismarck both benefited from the Steamwheelers benching by signing players and coaches from that roster that bolstered their own rosters. So it's kind of a win for them. Let's get into the teams that are playing this year. It was a really hard decision to make. Try to rank the IFL teams for 2021 or take a cheese grater to my face. The cheese grater sounds really nice right now because this is extremely hard to do. And speaking of extreme, number 12, the Louisville Extreme. You know, I have to go with the Louisville Extreme because they basically went from a no-name league to the almighty IFL in a giant leap. You know, I don't want to say they're going to be the punching bags of the IFL because, you know, they've made some good signings. Brian Hicks is a competent quarterback, and having Quan Shorts to throw to and Edgar Allan Poe, it's like poetry in motion. And that was, whatever, it's a joke. And there's some decent defenders and an experienced IFL coach, but with the stiff competition in the IFL, I just don't see them winning much. You know, and my view may be extreme, but technically so is this team. Number 11, the Northern Arizona Wranglers. A brand new, shiny expansion team enters a competitive league. With a great leader who doesn't just teach football, he teaches life. There's actually a bright future for this team. I have to wonder why they released Derek Bernard recently. With Verlon Reed on the roster, who has a lot of IFL experience, it probably won't be so bad. And he has some great targets to throw to, like Marquez Rogers and Raymond Epps. Stein didn't kill himself. Antoine Smith and Jeremiah Spicer look to anchor the defense. But as I've always said about expansion teams, you suck until you prove you're good. So prove it. Number 10. Oh boy, this is where I'm gonna lose a lot of you. Where's that cheese grater? You can do this. Okay. They're not gonna kill you, they're not gonna kill you, they're not gonna kill you. The Iowa Barnstormers. Wait, don't leave. Okay, don't be mad, don't overreact here, okay? Just hear me out, all right? I've got a good reason for this, okay? Most of the good players on this team followed Dixie Wooten down to Tucson. Oh, but we got coaches Les Moss and Rob Keefe. Okay, that's great. That means that they're gonna be really good next year. But understand, they barely signed these coaches. The season's right around the corner, and these coaches are coming from an arena style of play to an indoor style of play with a much less time frame to adjust than other coaching staffs. And the only real beast left on the team is Connor Hollenbeck. I see the Barnstormers losing a lot of games early on, but then making a push toward the end of the season and barely missing the playoffs. But next year, ooh, prove me wrong, Iowa. Number 9. This one's just as hard. Oh, guys, please don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please don't haunt me. Please don't find out where I sleep. The Green Bay Blizzard. There, I said it. Okay, don't leave. Just hear my reasons. Okay, this is a class act organization, and I cannot say enough good things about this coach who plays coy about how good he is. However, they didn't make any big splashes in the offseason, and other teams did. I see this as a good team, but not enough great signings to keep up with the juggernauts that are in this league. I mean, Bakari Triggs is gonna tear it up. A lot of this team's success this year will rest upon the play of the quarterback, but no pressure. No pressure. Number 8, the Bismarck Bucks. Ducon, were you dropped on your head as a child? Yes. Yes, I was. But analyze this for a moment, okay? Defense wins football games. I don't think the IFL teams are prepared for the Bismarck Bucks defense. I mean, Nate Paxton's gonna be over there every play saying, yum, 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 eat 'em up, quarterback, yum, 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 which is gonna cause errant throws that will make Zarel Hendrick, Marcus Green, Dion Carter, and remember what I said about Quad City going on hiatus? Malik Duncan is also part of this impossible to pass against secondary. There's gonna be turnovers galore. But Ducon, Bismarck doesn't have an offense. Okay, remember what I was saying about Quad City? So there's this guy that made E.J. Hillier kind of the offensive player of the year last season. Basically allowed Quentin Pedroza and Kevon Rudd to get all the touchdowns they've ever wanted. You remember that guy? Yeah, he's the offensive coach for the Bismarck Bucks. So the Bucks don't stop here. Number 7. You know, speaking of Pedroza and Rudd, the other benefactors of the Quad City benching is the Frisco Fighters. You know, with the great offensive minds of Clint Dolezal and Dan Radabaugh, this offense is going to sing.
All these rankings now stuff, it doesn't matter.
Jonathan Bain will be looking at opposing defensive lines and saying,
"Do you feel in charge?"
I mean, it's gonna be disco in Frisco, baby. And the defensive signings, or lack thereof, make the defense a little suspect, but with the coaching of James Romaine, it will give them a degree of competence, making them playoff contenders. Also, Frisco hasn't signed any deals with any marijuana dispensaries, so I didn't mark them as high as number 6, the Massachusetts Pirates. Only 6? But they signed all of that NFL talent. They should be at the top, right? I kind of agree. Mass has arguably the most stacked roster in this league, and I'm extremely excited to see them play. There's 2 reasons I don't see them getting far in the playoffs. Number 1, it was mentioned before, the adjustment from the arena style to indoor style of football. They're not yet veterans in this style of play. I mean, even Terrence Williams and Martavis Bryant are going to have a learning curve adjusting to this style of play. If they keep this roster and make those adjustments throughout this season, then they'll probably be at the top next season. Reason number 2, jet lag. I have seen a lot of really good NFL teams travel on the road across the country, play bad teams, and get beat down because the players didn't get rested enough. Travel takes a toll on the body, and they came out really flat. And because of the distance that Mass will have to travel throughout this season, I don't see them winning very many road games. Don't hate me, Jawad Yateem. Yateem is really good. Number 5, the Sioux Falls Storm. Curtis Riggs is still going to kill it. The receiving core isn't what it once was. They've made some great signings in Nathaniel Shavius and Tommy Armstrong, Brandon Rowe, and that makes them staying high in the rankings. And the Storm are likely to be the subjects of some of the most competitive and close games all season long. Because of some of the great IFL teams coming in, I see a surprise loss in the playoffs for the Storm. And if it wasn't for a Daquan Neal injury in the playoffs in 2019, I don't think the Storm would have made it to the United Bowl. There, I said it. Holy help me, Hannah! Number 4, the Spokane Shock. The National Arena League Championship game between the Cobras and Sharks was incredibly tight and tense. You know, Billy Bag's boys may have lost that contest, but Back is back in the IFL, bringing the best talent from both of those rosters to the Spokane party. This roster and coaching staff is so stacked that they could have easily been put as number 1. There's so much fireworks to be had with this team that their biggest opponent this year is actually going to be Washington State's governor. I mean, it's exciting to see the team back in action, but how many of us are really going to see it? How many of us are actually going to be able to attend the game? I want to attend it. They're a great team, but I see 3 teams as having a slight edge. Number 3, the Tucson Sugar Skulls. An expansion team that made the playoffs in its first year cannot be overlooked. Then you hire a coach who won the United Bowl and should have returned with his 12-2 record if it wasn't for a fluke injury in the playoffs. And now, the rootin' tootin' highfalutin' Dixie wootin' takes his boys down to the Southwest to bolster his holster with an already bolstered roster, a bolstered band of bandoleros. The only thing that makes Southern Arizona hotter in the dead of summer is the desert rivalries the IFL will be cooking up this season. Number 2, the Air Duke City Gladiators. Another team from the Southwest whose roster is so stacked it cannot be overlooked. And they're already familiar with the indoor game. Nate throws TDs to Dello. The Davis to Davis connection will be heard all season long. Trevante Be My Valentine and Dante Rumpf will be putting a lot of QBs on their rumps on the carpet in record time and often. This roster is too talented to ignore, and they very well may end up in the United Bowl, where the factor that tips the scales is coaching. Leaving us with the not so obvious number 1, your Arizona Rattlers. Jared Harrington is my pick for the MVP this season. I see him as unstoppable. Vinny the Green Pistachio Testaverde Jr. may or may not be throwing, but that doesn't matter when you add in Jamal Miles and Jeremiah Harris and a bolstered defense now with Daquan Brown and the elegant foot of the great dragon, Ernesto Lacayo. I just can't see them not winning. They'll likely not go undefeated this season because of the other great teams that are in here, but when playoff time comes, veterans and great coaching will likely crown the Arizona Rattlers United Bowl champions once again. And that is my arena football statement.